pressing down towards the belly as you inhale, as you bring the air in. So for which goal you also can push your belly forward voluntarily. So you make more space for the lungs to descend and to expand more downwards. And I'd like to start by saying that, as you may have seen the lungs in depictions or scans or whatnot, they have a lower, wider area, right? They're wider at the base. Typically, in breathwork, we divide, or even respiratory therapy, we divide the lungs into 3 stages, and that is basically dictated by the musculature around the lungs, which is actually what makes the lungs expand and contract, or squeeze and and open, so we can bring the air out and in. If it wasn't because of a musculature, if that musculature was very weak or non-existing, we wouldn't be able to breathe at all, or we wouldn't breathe properly. And that is actually the case for a lot of people not breathing properly because of a lack of strength throughout that musculature. And that musculature is mainly driven by or led by the diaphragm. The diaphragm muscle, which is basically like a big dome shape or jellyfish shape muscle when it's expanded. And it expands as it pushes the lungs upwards, because it sits underneath the lungs, right? So you can kind of visualize it if I place my hands right around where it may be existing or sitting, that diaphragm muscle. As it expands upwards, it pushes the air out. And as it compresses down and it flattens down, it pulls the lungs downwards. And when it pulls the lungs downwards, that's when the negative pressure makes the air go in the exhale. So that's basically what causes the exhale mainly. Now there's other musculature up the rib cage and even all the way to the neck and shoulders. And we're going to explore all of those from the bottom up, as the order should be. We should always start with the diaphragm as we breathe in. But again, nowadays there is a predominant, flip equation pattern where a lot of people are breathing first with the accessory muscles of breathing, which are your neck muscles, your shoulder and chest muscles. These are your sternocleidomastoid and scalene, and trapezius, which will go all the way from here to like the upper back, and some pectoral. And those will be your sort of, shrugging the shoulders a bit, tilting the head back a bit, muscles. And so we're going to explore from, again, the bottom up, as we originally were. I'm not saying that all of us are in that boat, but a lot of us are, including myself. So I hop on and off that boat because I have to keep reminding myself about the right order, as we all did when we were babies, up until a certain age in our infancy, where we started kind of losing connection with the breath because of becoming aware of the world that we live in. And then when the fight or flight response, or the alert or survival mode, will kick in, and we become of more consciousness and awareness of the reality that which we inhabit, we will start going into fight or flight without even knowing it, right? So this is documented. It is well, written and observed by many groups throughout the breathwork and the, MD, or you name it, science community, and it's in books, and you can look it up. The fact that we lose touch with our innate functional breathing patterns, which we possessed when we were babies. Okay, that'll be, again, belly first, then the intercostal muscles. These are the muscles in between your ribs. This will help your lungs expand sideways and back by opening the rib cage. And finally, the accessory. That's why they're called accessory muscles of breathing up here, because they're there for us to put on when we need them. And that'll be most likely physical exertion above zone, heart zone, 3 or so. Like when we're really starting to kind of gasp for air, that's when we start going up because we need more volume of air. But other than that, we should focus always on the belly and ribs. Belly and ribs, basically a cue for diaphragmatic and intercostal. Okay. So all that being said, we're going to just train and warm up and train all of that musculature, including the accessory, but with a lot of awareness and connection and intention. Hi guys. And so there's a mat here, and we can place another mat maybe just ahead of it a little bit. And so all of that is going to be also paired with a couple of breath holds, which we are doing one pretty much before we start to do anything else. We're going to do one breath hold as a group and one breath hold right at the end. So that last breath hold, that second and last breath hold, is going to give us an idea on how much we were able to adapt and connect. Adapt physiologically and psychologically to basically the discomfort that kicks in after that breath hold becomes that discomfort. Because usually the first phase of a breath hold is comfy, is nice, because of a self-preserving mechanism we all have as humans, which is lowering of the heart rate, basically autonomic. Like on its own, the heart rate slows down, so the heart slows its beating, because it's almost like it's receiving a message from the brain saying, hey, we need to slow down the oxygen demand. And so that's, I'm slowing you down, okay? We need to save energy because we don't know for how long we're going to be holding the breath and closing the gate for, fresh oxygenated air, right? So when you hold your breath willingly, I'm talking voluntarily, deliberately, not being pushed down by a wave tumbling you or, being strangled by somebody. Theoretically speaking, these are different cases, right? I'm telling you, when you hold your breath like now and you prepare for it, you set your mind, automatically the heart rate starts slowing down, okay? So again, that's the first phase. So that first phase of the breath hold should feel and you try to aim for it to be a nice experience of soothing, relaxing, mindfulness, meditation-like moment where you can even talk to yourself positively, just do affirmations or, positive self-talk, mantras, whichever, form you like to call it. But it's basically neuro-linguistic programming and, science already decipher that. And then at some point, guys, the carbon dioxide CO2 levels are going to be high enough in your blood because you're not letting it out on the exhale because you're holding, that is going to start feeling uncomfortable. And your cellular structure is going to start feeling like suffocated in a way, right? And so that's when the breath hold becomes uncomfortable. And that's when the mindset changes to like, okay, this is more of a resilience, more of a stay strong in your mind kind of game, okay? And we're gonna work through that. So we're gonna work on both how much we can sit, how good are we sitting with ourselves in our own skin, relaxing and trying to make that moment last as much as possible. So without distractions of, oh, I wonder, my sister or my father or whomever next to me, how long he or she are going to, do on this one, and I gotta be, some thoughts that may invade yourself in that moment, or I wonder how long, oh my God, and then,
just thoughts, just remove them and just feel like you are setting a little time for yourself to just, set yourself free from any thought that doesn't favor you. Okay, that's an exercise. And then the other part of the exercise again is when the discomfort kicks in. That's you going, it's okay, I can breathe anytime, yet I choose to, cope with that discomfort for a little longer, which I know is making me stronger. So I decide to, and it's okay. Whenever I want, I have control on, over this. I can control my physiology and my mind as well by just like, exposing myself with that discomfort willingly for a little longer. Finally, you have to give up, you have to breathe, of course, but not before putting a little fight, which strengthens your, again, physiology and psychology, both, okay? Okay, so without further ado, I know it's been a long intro. We're going to actually lay comfortably on our back. Some of you already are. And by the time I hit 1 on that countdown from 10, guys, please, everybody, when I say 1, takes the deepest breath in. You can, and hold that air in you for as long as you can. Okay, now, how am I gonna know when you guys are breathing again? Because by the time you guys let the air out, you raise your hand so I can see. Oh, okay, you're breathing. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, whatever the time is. Okay, yeah, that's a big milestone. Okay, I like to set, like, yeah, the bar high. So no need to fulfill any, no expectations. What it is a challenge within each of you, okay? Each one of you have a challenge within. So pay no mind to anything that's going on around you. Just go inwards and just throw a body scanner, for instance, as you're holding your breath. That's an element from a yoga nidra, modality of yoga. Just a body scanner to start releasing tension. As that scanner goes through every part of the body, just loosen up and, just really. Okay, and then we'll take that mental note of that time when I announce it. So please remember that. Keep that on a mental note for your second one coming up later, so we can compare. And I assure you, you guys are going to go above that first number on the second one. Because of that activation and that adaptation, you guys are going to achieve physiologically and psychologically. There we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Feel those lungs as much as possible, and off we go, guys. Stopwatch started. We are at 30 seconds. That's 33. That's 30. That's 43. 43. The two of you together. That is 50. That's 54. That's 59. Almost a minute. We're at a minute now. There's still a few people holding. That is 117. No worries. That is 121 together. 121. That's 125. 125. So you guys are connected. 121. That's cool. Brian, that's 135. Good. And we still have 1 or 2 people holding. And that's 145, Brenda. Nice. 145, that's close to 2 minutes. And I believe by now, everybody, I see all bellies moving by now. Okay, guys. So please take that note, take that mental note. Let's keep that number on the records, and let's move forward to the first exercise. I know there's a couple of what seem to be bees, but they're not. These guys, they tend to tangle in people's hair and kind of they're like sticky, but they don't bite, they don't sting. Just so you know, don't worry about it. They're not flies, they're not bees. You can just kind of, sorry. And there's a little bug, not spray but cream on the shelf, just in case it's getting a little intense. You can just rub some of that around your shoulders. But just so you know, they're not stinging bees, okay? Neither flies. So first stage, as I mentioned before, was the diaphragm or diaphragmatic breathing, which will give you more parasympathetic activation. That'll be your rest, digest, and recover mode of the autonomic nervous system. That's your relaxation mode, okay? It'll bring your heart rate to a lower pace. It'll improve blood flow to the whole body, okay? It'll, because it vasodilates, right? It causes the relaxation of the vessels, of the veins, arteries, and capillaries. It lowers cortisol, of course, because you're tapping into parasympathetic. And it helps for oxygen usage. That means that the availability, the diffusion of oxygen improves for all of your cells. That's what diaphragmatic breathing does, okay? Plus, it's good for pelvic floor mobility and whatnot, because you're basically pushing down, okay, on your lungs, which will make the organs have to reach forward in order to give room for that descending, musculature to take, to make space, okay? Which also, in a way, creates this almost like internal massage, organ massage, which moves lymph, which is basically the clearing or cleansing fluid mechanism for the body. So there's a lot to diaphragmatic breathing we can point at in terms of positive outcomes. Core, foundational breathing pattern. Before people go even into any outer body sort of holistic, esoterical practices, we should all learn how to first, engage properly with the diaphragm. And a good indicator for diaphragm engaging will be the belly, again, raising and dropping as much as possible, for which we're going to use actually a yoga block. I'm just going to walk, make my way in between you guys and pass to each one of you a yoga block, which we will place. Maybe, please, can you just pass this around, maybe to your left? And we're going to place this in the very bottom of the belly, right where the belly button is, okay? Right where the belly button is. I know these guys are just here. I'm just going to provide you with one of these, and you can just go, get away. And then here's some face and hand soap. Why are this soap sitting in here? I'm sorry. Okay, here's another, just one of these in case somebody needs it. Okay, so here's more blocks. Okay, and I'm just gonna bring some of these blocks forward. Okay, guys, so put them on your lower belly, and the goal is gonna be to raise this as high as possible, friends. Raise this, guys, as high as possible, friend. Okay, yeah. Make him go as high, you're welcome, as possible. We all got one block? Okay, great. So get those blocks on that inhale. And guys, by the way, we're going to switch just for training purposes to the mouth, okay? Why is that? The mouth has more suctioning power, more traction by the time you want to really emphasize, you want to exaggerate that inhale. Notice the sound and the gesture. Nasal inhale. That'll be like the pattern. Mouth inhale. O-shaped lips, like sucking off a straw. Did you hear and see how much more power I'm able to put into that inhale? Well, that reaches the area, that taps the area that we're trying to access to with more, power, okay? So let's use that strong vacuum-like inhale, again, shaping your lips as a tiny O or medium O, as if you're sucking off a straw. What that does is it causes pressure. It pressurizes the air so the air enters pressurized, okay? And hold there for 2 or 3 seconds as you're lifting, keeping that block at top. As you're keeping that block at top for those 3 seconds, press out and down on your belly, okay? And you can, on top of that, tighten your perineal muscle as you're holding, waiting to go to the restroom, okay? Like tighten that. And then let go with an S, prolonged, soothing sound. S, long, soothing sound. All the way till that block is almost touching your spine, sort of saying, okay? So the higher you can go, hold, press down and out, tighten your perineal muscle in between the legs. On the way out, on the exhale, start loosening, that musculature, yet start pressing in on those abs and obliques so you can go as far down as possible on that exhale, okay? Do you mind if we just move down a tiny bit on that? Because I think I placed that mat too close to the ones behind you, so that we all have, sorry, just a little tiny bit right there. So you be more comfortable, they'll be more comfortable. Now you can fully stretch, guys, yeah. And I believe we're all good here, thank you. Okie dokie, let's keep going. We're gonna do a minute or two of this exercise. A minute or two of diaphragmatic breathing. So I'd like to see all bellies, all blocks going as high as possible, staying there for a couple of 3 seconds maybe, and then dropping as low as you can. With that nice S sound, exhale, and review those concepts as you go through your exercise. Lowering of the heart rate, so that's bradycardia, so heart rate relaxes. More oxygen usage or availability or diffusion to your cellular structure, to all your cells. Lymphatic massage, if you will, internal organ massage as well. Then, pelvic floor mobility. Reduction of cortisol. Actually, the appearance of feel-good hormones, right? And neurotransmitters. And all in all, a sense of tranquility, better blood flow. On the opposite branch, the sympathetic, the fight or flight, for instance, the blood flow to the belly, to the gastrointestinal, and your digestive system gets cut. In this case, it gets actually re-established, and then there's better digestion. And as muscles relax, also the availability for nutrients and oxygen, goes higher. So even for recovery after workout, this is a good practice. Diaphragmatic breathing. Again, emphasize that inhale a little bit since we're starting to do this, and then the idea is to rewrite those neuromuscular patterns, just to go through them once and a few times, and then it kind of becomes a little more natural by the time we just do it without thinking about it. Okay, so emphasize inhale. Make it audible. Make it audible. That's a sign that it's a bit of a workout, right? It's a bit of a workout, and is actually felt in the abdominal area. And guys, the inspiratory muscles, the ones that you use to actually bring the air in, well, the diaphragm is one of them, is the main one. But expiratory muscles, the ones that you use to squeeze the air out of your lungs, these are, in this case, in this area that you're tapping right now, are the obliques and the rectus abdominis, your abdominal area and your obliques. So when you really put some love into that exercise, you're getting a little bit of a ab workout. Yeah, those muscles are tensing. Those muscles are contracting, and they're engaging. So I'm going to start removing the blocks one by one and just placing them back there. So as I remove them, just keep breathing as you are, okay? Just keep breathing as you are with your diaphragm. For this, you can also use a heavy book at home if you want to make this a part of your routine. You can use a heavy book. You can use an exercise disc or weighted, lifting disc. Literally, these are the ways you train your breathing muscles, because there's no other way to train your breathing muscles, because we don't count on that. Sorry, I'm just going to remove the block. Thank you. We don't have those eccentric and concentric, thank you, elements of bending and extending, for instance, through a joint, a limb, or a joint in the body. So these muscles, these are the only ways you can train them, is to apply force or weight on them. I'm just going to remove the blocks. Apply weight on them and engage them. So have them do their mechanical gestures with that pressure on them. For which now we are going up on that chain that I explained. And by the way, we're gonna sit now, legs crossed, and we're gonna pick a partner, we're gonna pick a buddy, and we're gonna sit behind that person, whether it's a family member or friend, we're gonna sit behind that person. And what we're doing now, guys, is applying pressure as we intended to do with the yoga block. Well, of course, the yoga block is not super heavy, but it is an indicator that there is an object sitting there for that area, right? So lower this volume a little bit. And so, again, theoretically, you can do that with a heavier object, okay? The heavier, the better, because the more training you're getting on that diaphragm muscle, okay? Which it is a muscle, so it's trainable. You can make it stronger, okay? Now as we move up to the intercostals, right? The muscles that will allow your ribs, actually will make your ribs expand so that you can get more air, also more volume. That's the whole idea, is to bring in more air. Sideways and back. You want to place your hands, well, that's why we're doing it as a team. So you see Brian and Brenda back there, they're actually ready on that position. Father and daughter, maybe some friends. You can just pick somebody. Yeah. Okay, the idea again, perfect. We're in pair numbers, that's great. So the idea again is that, well, place your hands where you feel the most bones, okay, the most bone density. And that'll be sometimes like starting like, not in the very, very front, but like side a little bit, all the way to the back a little bit, okay? Depends on how big your arms are, your hands are. And then, guys, look at this. Look at this. We're going to keep the same breathing pattern, that strong inhale through the mouth with O-shaped lips. We're actually going to be more emphatic on this one because this area is a harder shell, if you will, because it's got more bones than here, of course. So it presents a bigger challenge to move, to make those ribs move. And so we're going to now keep that belly flat, if you will, or inactive. And what's going to be active is now this area. So you're kind of forcing the air by just keeping the belly in, keeping the shoulders down from shrugging. Automatically, as you inhale, the air is going to move to that center area, okay? So you guys behind pressing, you're going to feel how those ribs are expanding, and even the lats, the latissimus dorsi, the muscles here, stabilizers of the trunk, actually engage as well, okay? So try to keep those backs from straight to kind of hunch a little bit, like those breathing, hunch over a tiny bit, okay? By hunching over a tiny bit, you're kind of telling your shoulders to stay down and your belly to stay in. Okay, I'm going to count down. When I get to 1, you guys start pressing and stay pressing steady, and you guys breathe 4 times. You're gonna notice, you guys pressing, that the deltoids are gonna get a little workout. So that's what we're gonna keep it short. 4 breaths, okay? 4 cycles, so 4 inhale, exhale cycles, and then we'll switch, all right? But you do make sure you press firmly, almost like if you're trying to break those ribs, but you're not. 3, 2, 1. Breathers, breathe with passion. Wanna make those breaths noticeable, audible. Exhale faster this time, faster. Let the air out faster. Now go back to the next inhale, strong. Exaggerate. Shoulders down as you press out also on those ribs. Remember, 3 seconds, same pattern, 3 seconds, hold and press out and make yourself feel and look robust, like pressing out onto those hands. Keep going at your own pace. Shoulders down, belly in. Don't let the shoulders escape, and really, really make sure you get that air in a very strong, aggressive way. You see, you feel that nice traction going down through the trachea, the muscles of the mouth, the trachea. All right, one more. You're doing this? Do this. There you go. It's a vacuum. You're pretending to be a vacuum, and you're vacuuming, good particles. Okay, let's switch. Because a vacuum usually sucks in. Okay, quick question. Were you guys able to feel some activation of those areas? Were you able to feel some musculature or bone Connective tissue moving. The people who were pressing before, were you? Everybody? Okay, great. Okay, hands in place, don't press yet. I'm gonna start a countdown. You be firm with those, pressing hands, and you be exaggerated with that. Hold it for 3 seconds. As you hold, you press out as if you're even trying to move those hands away, making yourself look and feel robust, right? Like pretending you're a bodybuilder of sorts, yeah? And then faster release, faster exhale. 3, 2, 1. Press firmly, breathe in strong. There you go. Shoulders down, stay pressing on those hands. Stay pressing, keep pressing on those ribs. There you go. Good job. Faster exhale so that the people pressing, they can notice the change in nice. That's nice. You're gonna have to bear hug your dad because he's stronger. Good job, guys. Press firmly, press strong. One more breath and we're good. Right on. That's it. As long as everybody was able to feel that expansion and that activation, that's great. Okay. So let me tell you, for an instance, free divers, people who hold their breath to dive deep or to hold their breath at surface, there's different modalities. But especially the modality that you dive deep, straight down, and you're trying to reach like crazy depths and also crazy breath hold times. This is the type of training they do. This is freediving pro training because you are strengthening those muscles of breathing. Just so by the time you need to take that last breath in, you can maximize your volume. Everybody's got a volume, right? It's not fixed. It was kind of fixed at some point, but it may change throughout, again, time and stagnation and laziness of the musculature. We may be talking about, that old, kind of thought people, I've heard this a few times, like, oh yeah, we only use 10% of our brain or something, and yeah, humans can do amazing things. Imagine if we were to use, like 50% or 7. I don't know how true that is, but I'm just kind of crossing parallels. With the lung volume, it is so. Like we may be a potential of 5 liters and we're only using like 2 liters, for instance. Just by always breathing up here and leaving the rest of the container sort of stagnated. And that includes musculature, which also not only helps us to acquire more volume, to bring in more air, which will also translate into more oxygen available, okay? But bodily functions get sort of, slowed down, because of that lack of motion. Remember, motion is lotion. Or use it or lose it. I like to think of those sayings. It's the same for the breathing structures. Okay, there's nerves, there's fluids, there's, even during times of, like respiratory disease and whatnot, a lot of that could be mitigated by proper breathing patterns because of, again, more oxygen, more ventilation, better immune system through keeping yourself down-regulated, because stress kills. But yet the opposite is also true. If you're able to keep yourself down-regulated, there'll be even less harm that you'll... So, just food for thought. Okay, good job, guys. Now we just did that exercise. We go back to our sitting position, and then we're going to move up to the last phase of the 3-part breath. We are practicing reiterating the 3-part breath. 3-part breath: belly, ribs, and chest, diaphragmatic, intercostal, and accessory muscles. We're going to tap into the accessory muscles now, okay? For which we're placing one hand on the very top and one hand on the very bottom. The hand on the bottom may be the non-dominant. The one on the top, the dominant, okay? The one on the bottom, the non-dominant, serves to tell ourselves, hey, keep that belly inactive. Keep that belly, neutral. The one on the top is to really tell ourselves, hey, yes, we're moving all of these structures up. All of these structures are moving up. So visualize that the top of the lungs are now getting a nice, expansion upwards. As you are shrugging your shoulders, you're tilting your head a little bit towards the end of that inhale. You're tilting the head back. You're shrugging your shoulders. So that makes those last two ribs that are attached to the top of the lungs to pull the lungs upwards, okay? Visualize that. So again, you're creating more volume. It's the same thing you did downwards on your diaphragm, sideways and back on your intercostals, okay? So it's gonna look and sound like this, guys. If you just look at me for a second, it's gonna be something like this. You start on empty lungs. And then always drop at the end of the inhale. Drop and even puff up your chest a little bit on this one. Maybe you can just do gentle taps and kind of make yourself feel and look robust, like a King Kong of sorts, or a dove, okay, with like a big chest. And you can exhale slower as we did on the diaphragm, okay? So let's do it at the count of 3, 2, 1. After you fully inhale and you shrug shoulders, you bring them down, puff up your chest, or you roll your shoulders back, and I always like the tapping, just so you can tell yourself, oh yeah, the air is sitting in the right container and whatnot. Good. And at your own pace, let's keep going. Let's do maybe 3 or 4 more of those. Remember to bring the shoulders down and back. Make the chest, puff up. Couple more. You're squeezing that last bit of air towards the end and then dropping shoulders, rolling them back. Nice. One more. You're feeling that nice pressure. That means fully packed top of the lungs, or lungs top fully packed. Good job, guys. Great. So we've gone through the 3 stages one by one, isolated each. That means we just gave a nice activation to all of that musculature and nerves, all of that connective tissue structure, which is great. So now, guys, we're putting them all together into one deep breath. When you say deep breath, that's what it means. It's starting in the bottom, in the depths, the foundation, and working your way up. I used to think at some point, or kind of have this preconceived idea of a deep breath being just, all up here. And now I know it's got to start from below, from down here. And it requires some practice. It requires an effort, because for too long, I was breathing only here. And I could catch myself often going like, man, you're breathing short. Without knowing the whole theory of it, I felt that something was off. Just by going, yeah, shortness, it doesn't really feel good. What's happening? Then I started studying it, because the spark got in me through freediving. You lit that interest, and you have to go through books. You do certifications. These are international academies formed by former world record holders, or very like high level athletes that have become a sort of physiologists, besides high level athletes. And they have, there's different sort of bodies of thinking, or lines of thought, but they all kind of take you to the same place. PADI, the scuba diving, recognized world academy, they have their freediving branch, which they have a course for. FII, Freediving Instructors International, PFI, Performance Freediving International, all of those have literature that you get when you sign up for their courses, and there's levels 1, 2, 3, and in each level you're learning more and more and more of the physiology, safety, training, etc. So that's very interesting, because it just goes right into our day-to-day lives as well, because breathing affects your emotions, breathing affects your performance, your nervous system, etc. Okay, so deep breath. 1, 2, 3. 3 stages into one inhale. I'm just going to lay in front of you as you guys are after me. So please remain sitting. Just watch the order in which I do that. I'm going to do it 1 time, but you guys are going to do it 5 times through just mouth inhale, exhale, and then you're going to transition to only nasal. Now raise your hands, those who may have a little bit, which is very normal in some cases, obstruction in either of the two nostrils or both. I'm checking mine to see if I have to raise my hand, because it is actually very normal. The body itself, as a mechanism of self-regulation, clogs one or the other every 4, 6, 8 hours. One or the other, left or right nostril. Yeah. Now there's also allergies, inflammation. There's deviated septum, which is also common. There's a hypertrophy in I believe the conchi or turbinates. There's a structure that sometimes I have a buddy of mine who literally can't breathe through his nose. And he's actually, by the way, a surfer, so kind of kills him because he really wants to. But anyhow, and he's got to get that removed, like surgery, like just trim down, if you will. But yeah, if you happen to have a little bit of an obstruction, if it's only one nostril, say is the right nostril, for instance, when we're doing the nasal breathing exercise, try to block your opposite one, the one that you're not going to be breathing through, or the one that's more active, because you're supposed to breathe through both, and just pinch it, block it, pinch it, or just block it, or block it, pinch it, and move it to the sides or up or down as you're trying to bring the air in through that blocked one. And notice if throughout that whole wiggling and different directions of a pulling, and there's an opening. Okay, that's one way to do it, to just find that nice relieving sensation of, oh, there's a little opening here. Okay, I'm just going to stay there and breathe. Okay, the other one is to press from down up with your thumb on the bottom of the septum. And you can also go left and right. This will kind of do the nasal strips sort of mechanics, okay? So those two will kind of do the nasal strips mechanics. But anyhow, this is for whenever you guys are breathing through the nostrils a little later. Again, we're gonna do 5 mouth, inhale, exhale. I'm gonna show now through a quick demo. It's gonna look and sound like this. You guys are gonna do the same thing 5 times. Here I go, the right order. That's muscle control. Three slightly different sounds. Maybe you guys are a little bit far, but I could hear 3 slightly different sounds. So these are 3 containers. Literally 3 different containers dictated by the muscle structure around them, okay? Okay, on the way out, on the exhale, leave the belly for last. So that'll be... One more. Of course, as a bit of an exaggeration, because you have to when you're training for rewiring neuromuscular patterns for breathing. If the case is like me, you've breathed for too long up here, okay, and also through the mouth, and also short, because you could be breathing from up here, but as we did it a little while ago, with that nice awareness of the area, it may even kind of gravitate more towards the rest, digest, and recover, even though you're in an area that tends to trigger the opposite, tends to trigger the fight or flight, because you've seen it, right? When somebody gets scared or panics, the first visual trait besides facial factions going like that you notice is a switch on the breathing pattern and breathing areas. So it's more like you can see those shoulders like really like moving, and and shortness of breath and like gasping and like very erratic pattern, just as what you kind of feel like is happening when you enter the cold water at cold plunge, but then you regulate, you control that through breath. So again, you're just removing all that away by just really being mindful of your breath. So let's all lay down and do five cycles, 5 cycles of 3 stage. By the time you guys are breathing through the nostrils, I'm gonna pass by and pour a drop of lavender oil in your index finger, maybe on your right hand, by the time you guys start to breathe on your nasal passages. And you just rub the back of your ears and maybe around the chin and the jaw and maybe the nostrils a little bit, so you get that nice lavender scent, which is soothing, to start relaxing and getting ready for the second and last breath hold, okay? But not before doing 5 cycles of all mouth, 3 stage in the right order, and then we'll switch to all nasal, all nasal. Let's start at the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Belly, ribs, and chest. Good job, good job. Leave the belly for last. You should have that belly still, protruding all the way until you've released all the air. That nice S sound. Exhale. S sound, sort of keeping that internal lung pressure on as the air goes out. I'm actually going to start pouring that lavender just so by the time you guys start breathing through the nostrils, you are getting that nice scent. So rub the back of the ears. Las orejitas. Eso. Rub. There you go. Y aquí también. Start pouring that lavender oil. Yeah. Back of the ears, throat, chest, nostrils, towards the end. This oil should not be, stinging. It's a very, very gentle formula. So this is very soothing and relaxing. It'll help to keep your, you're right. There you go. Unless you're left-handed. There we go. After we have counted, have I already? Oh, sorry. Okay. Some more? Yeah. There you go. Rub the back of your ears. Rub the back of your ears. Okay, friends. Now let's switch to nasal breathing. Now, as you do nasal breathing, sort of think of yourself in daily basis during your day-to-day tasks. Walking down the street, commuting to work, to the supermarket, just doing landscape little fixes, talking to your spouse or children, sitting on your computer, responding emails, you name it. Any sort of mundane task, just daily, routinary. Think of yourself breathing like you are now, through the nostrils. Think of yourself breathing with depth. Think of yourself breathing in the right order, belly, ribs, and chest. Visualize yourself in any of those scenarios, just using the right order, belly, ribs, and chest. Again, see yourself in a situation where, again, you are conscious of the breath and going, okay, I like to keep my nervous system leveled where everything functions better. And for that, I am using especially my belly and my ribs. Remember, the accessory muscles, the ones on the very top, these guys will be more like, okay, I'm gonna go on a jog or on a bike or bicycle, little tour or whatnot, or commuting, but like with a little more energy. You start thinking of the chest and shoulders. But now, as you're just doing something that doesn't really require high heart rate, you're just baseline, think of yourself in a situation, again, breathing normally, breathing through your belly and ribs, okay? Through your nostrils, that's great. And as we do so, now we are walking into the preparation for the second and last breath hold of the day. For a second, recall your first time. How long was it that you lasted on the first one? By the way, one thing we're actually removing now, so we're totally neutral, is the bolsters. So I'm just gonna go one by one and remove bolsters and store them. You guys are okay, just wait for me. And as you wait for me for removing them, you just gonna remove this one, my friend. So you're more neutral, okay? Unless you don't want it to, let me know, but should be more neutral now. And we are actually going to a place where we are as still, as relaxed as possible, with the least muscles active in the body. That means like we're most likely laying in Shavasana yoga pose with your hands next to you, next to your thighs or your legs, palms looking up, really, really relaxing, seeking for that lowering of the heart rate. So, Brian, do you mind? Lowering of the heart rate. You want to get that heart rate as low as possible so you are able to keep that breath hold for the longest time and really enjoy. Voy a sacar eso para que puedas estar neutral. Eso. Okay, so now we're working on full relaxation as we continue. I'm just going to remove this one. As we continue to go through most likely belly and ribs. Remove this one. And now, since we know those long exhales will also help us to keep that heart rate even going lower, we can go back to it. We can go back to the long exhales with S sound as we prepare for the last breath hold. Thank you, sir. Okay, everybody's neutral now. And we're all breathing through the nostrils. We're all driving the air to the belly and the ribs. We're letting the air out slowly through the mouth with an S soothing sound. As we inhale, we notice that there's a nice lavender scent still. And for this second and last breath hold, guys, we're definitely going to bring in the air through the mouth. We're going to fully pack the lungs on those 3 stages order. And we're going to apply techniques of visualization. Visualization now with any hobby, sport, art form, anything that you like to do that makes you just feel plain and free and connected with that, life force. Whether, again, is a sport, is an art form, or a hobby, something that you love to do. Maybe you're working for your best personal running time in a given distance, or you are currently working on perfectioning a technique in a given, art form, or dancing, or, maybe a dish that you are perfecting, and you're just visualizing yourself achieving that goal, okay? Like just vividly going through that moment of bliss, of celebration, okay? Maybe it's surfing, right? Surfing, since you are doing surfing these days, maybe you can visualize some cool surfing moments with you being the protagonist. This is one technique. The other one I've mentioned already, which is the body scanner. So from head to toes, run a virtual body scanner, and as the scanner runs through, just disengage fully every inch of musculature. Whatever smallest, the smallest of them are, just let them, disconnect, okay? You shouldn't be moving at all. You should be just totally neutral so that you're not consuming any oxygen unnecessarily. All oxygen goes to sustain your cells through that breath hold. Lastly, positive self-talk. I am strong, I got this, I'm resilient, etc. Now, on the countdown, let's sigh together as a group. Vamos a suspirar. Let's sigh together at least 10 times. Let's keep sighing together. And remember, when I count down, it is only when I get to 1 that everybody takes that last breath in through the mouth and packs those lungs as much as possible and holds for as long as possible. Let's keep on sighing, friends. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ready? 1. Awesome. Lungs fully packed. Off we go. As quiet and still, as relaxed and smooth and gentle as possible. Get on your inner journey of visualization. So that's 30 seconds. You guys should be feeling better this time, more relaxed, more empowered, stronger, physically and mentally. And please enjoy the practice. Smile at it. One minute. Good job. Pretty much almost doubled. That was 1 minute. That's 108. 109 actually. Good job, guys. We are at 130. Good job. 133. Nice. That's 140. Almost 2 minutes. We're actually getting close to 2 minutes. Those who are breathing again, just breathe strong. In and out for a few cycles with lots of power. We are 5 seconds away. That's 155. 5 seconds away from 2 minutes. Good job. 159. 2 minutes. Sharp. Very nice. Very close to 2 minutes. 2 minutes right there. And this is 205, Brian. 206, Brian. And this is 210, ladies. 211. 210 and 211. That's pretty cool. You guys have very similar breath hold times. And we're still holding one person, I believe. No, we're good? Okay. Okay. So we're good. We're good. We're good. I know. I remember you guys celebrating kind of, yeah. You both got really close to 2 minutes. That's right. Okay. Awesome. I'm always hesitant to press stop because you never know. Maybe somebody that I missed still holding like. But hey, you all notice how you increase that breath hold time on the second one, right? Well, it is due to a mental, a physical, and a mental adaptation. Why is that? Well, we have a thing called the mammalian as mammals, diving reflex. All of us have that reflex built in. Not only us, but marine mammals, such as dolphins, whales, sea lions, manatees, you name them, okay? All sea mammals, marine mammals. And what that reflex, if you wonder, does is by the time these guys have to hold their breath to go underwater and do their thing, unless they're being chased, right, or chasing, but just the fact that they go underwater for a while, their heart rates, because they're holding their breath, will slow down. Same thing happens to us. As I mentioned earlier, just by holding your breath willingly, your heart rate will slow down. When you do that repetitively, once, twice, 3 times, it's like your DNA catches on that signal and goes, oh, this is what we're doing it again? Okay, may as well, let's just improve, let's enhance, let's optimize everything. So the body just works to get it even better. So if we were to do a third one, I'm sure you guys will put another 5-10 seconds above on top. You'll probably go past the 2 minutes, no problem. and you'll probably get close to 30 or so. Like, because the body again is adapting more and more. Of course, there is a plateau. You can't just keep going forever, but there's a moment, yeah, where you just kind of get to a point. But what this shows us is that with the proper preparation, imagine by doing this in an hour and a half. Imagine if you're doing this with a month and a half preparation, and then you go on this trip where there's this snorkeling tour, and you just are with a bunch of friends, and there's an underwater structure. I like to use this example because I had to go through something similar, and everybody likes to go down to the structure, sunken ship or whatnot, to check the little fish, but then it's kind of a challenge. It's a little bit deep, or if they get to, they can't really stay there for too long, and then you see me or maybe a couple others that have done trainings like this, much more comfortable at surface, preparing, knowing that this is the preparation you do with your snorkel on, horizontal, looking down, like just laying flat through your snorkel, literally doing that diaphragmatic breathing, letting the air go out slow. You can still emit that S sound as you have the snorkel piece in your mouth. Relaxing, running that body scanner, and by the time you feel good, okay, it's time to go and dive. Of course, you do your proper, pertinent equalization techniques and whatnot, and then you're just down there for a while, and people are like, this guy, well, guess what, or this girl, guess what, we've done the training, we know how to prepare, and our body feeds back, it reacts, and to us, because we've already triggered that signal, we established that neuromuscular pattern, it responds. And so this is just one example, okay? Not to say again that during the day we are able to remember, belly breathing is the most important. Why? Because it just triggers the parasympathetic response. This right here, so takeaway, let's just kind of set it in a takeaway term. 3 takeaways, major takeaways. The right order, belly, ribs, and if you need it, chest. The right pathway or airway, nostrils. And the right time, anywhere from 4 to 5 or 6 seconds on each inhale, exhale. So slowing down the breath. So using it in the correct order, using it through the correct airways, and using it in the correct time will give us far more benefits than mouth breathing, short breaths, and basically using the accessory muscles. Why accessory muscles? They'll most likely trigger sympathetic, fight or flight. They'll most likely raise cortisol when we're up here, okay? Again, the opposite happens when we start down here. That's why when you are exerting physical exertion, you activate this, you, number one, have more volume of air to move. Number 2, you get more activation. You get a little more adrenaline, and which is great for when you're, you need to move and stay active, right? So those 3 major takeaways, and also a takeaway as for a morning routine, if you want one, that'll be 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so set your time, your stopwatch, and just go, okay, 1 minute, boom, on your own. You don't need to have assistance for this one. 1 minute. You can even be sitting, doing what we did with the block slaying. You can just do sitting with your dominant hand on your belly, doing diaphragmatic breathing. I always go for training the mouth, but generally speaking, for overall, life breathing purposes, nasal. We'll discuss briefly before we wrap it up. 1 minute belly breathing. Okay, boom. 1 more minute. 1 more minute, intercostal on your own, without, if you don't have that assistance. If you do, that's great. If not, you just place your own hands on your ribs. Okay, 1 minute. And finally, boom, 1 more minute of accessory muscles. Okay, now 1 more minute of the 3-part, 3-stage breath, okay? 1, 2, 3. You do that for 1 more minute. That's 4 minutes. And finally, you can lay and prepare for another minute. Just really relaxing, nasal breathing maybe, belly breathing, nasal breathing, maybe mouth exhales. And whenever you're ready, after a minute, you set the, take that last breath in, set the timer again, press start, and just go for maybe a minute of a breath hold, maybe a minute and a half, whatever you feel like, but try to push it so you get the nervous system a nice stimuli. And that's it. You recover for maybe another minute or two by just breathing normally, maybe doing a few more exaggerated sort of hyperventilation, like controlled hyperventilation breaths after, and there you have it. This is anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes of an exercise that will give you an advantage in anything you do in life, during your day. If you were an athlete and you will clone yourself, put just another one right next to you just as you, same exact person, and you go on a, say, I don't know, 5K run race, you bet the version of yourself that did the morning routine, the breath morning routine, will probably cross that finish line before the version that didn't does. Because it's just physiology and mathematics. You're just going to enhance your ventilation, you're going to enhance your body oxygen absorption, your focus, etc. Okay, so guys, lastly, let's discuss nasal breathing versus mouth breathing. Very, very important for life. And I would like to hear from you what you think nasal breathing's benefits are, if anybody would like to, collaborate, and maybe out of intuition, out of knowledge, information you may possess. Yes, sir. Exactly. It cleanses the air. And I like to say we have our own HVAC system built in. And that'll be your nasal hair at first. That'll be your first line of defense, where the bigger airborne particles, dust, mites, pathogens may get trapped, and then you'll end up removing them as you blow your nose. These will be the boggers or the snot, right? Literally, it's what's end up being. Whatever makes it through, because it's tinier particles, and maybe sometimes people trim their hair. I like to nowadays just cut whatever is exposing, but what's from the door in, I'll try to leave it there because of that same purpose. Whatever makes it through, because there are smaller particles, will most likely get trapped or binded into a layer that's sticky and humid. It's called the mucosa, which gets its counterpart, the cilia. It's called cilia by science. It's almost like a carpet structure that covers the linings, and that carpet-like structure has hair that scrapes the mucus with those binded particles of dust, mites, and bad bacteria and potential pathogens, sweeps it or scrapes it into this direction, into the back of the throat, where we can finally swallow, and along with saliva, the mucus containing those particles that bind it to the mucosa that were scraped off goes to the stomach, where the stomach acids will neutralize them. So that's the whole system. And so that's exactly one of the probably the most important ones, is the cleansing. Anything else besides cleansing? Anything with temperature, with pressure, cues, maybe brain activation. There's some other stuff there. There's stuff with your circulatory system. So there is a thing called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is widely discussed in science, and sports science especially nowadays is gaining more and more importance. NO is the short for nitric oxide, and it is basically a vasodilator and an air purifier. So as it dilates your vessels, you get better blood flow. So for sports and performance, it is amazing. What do we got? A little lizard. Yeah. And that's called the spiny-tailed lizard. And it's not an iguana. Spiny-tailed lizard. In Spanish, it just kind of went away. These are the ones that are more grayish, bluish. Yeah, it's looking this way. Grayish, bluish. It's like that shirt and that shirt. They're more like bluish, gray, dark gray. And these guys are not iguanas, right? These guys are Tenosaurus similis. Sounds Jurassic, right? So these guys are probably more ancient than the iguanas. The iguana scientific name is iguana iguana. 2 times iguana. Funny. 2 times iguana. And they're greener. They're just greener. Iguanas are just greener. These guys are less afraid of people than iguanas are, by the way. These guys can get closer to you. So, yeah, nitric oxide gets released into your bloodstream, then helping to purify the air even more and to dilate your vessels, which will produce better blood flow, will facilitate for better blood flow. And that gas was actually awarded a Nobel Prize for its discoverer, a U.S. physicist called Lou Gennaro. In year 1995, the guy won a Nobel Prize for discovering NO and its applications to health and longevity and sports and all that. And the molecule itself was awarded Molecule of the Year by the Science Journal. It's crazy. So yeah, very interesting facts of nasal breathing. Finally, you get what's thermoregulation. If it's too hot, the air will kind of be cooled down because it goes through a sort of series of conducts and labyrinth-like structure that kind of helps it to regulate. So it enters the lungs with better temperature. Same if it's too cool, it gets a little warm, and it pressurizes the air, etc. So basically, there's other stuff like brain hemisphere activation. That's why in yoga you have the alternate nostril breathing or one nostril or the other breathing to activate one or the other hemispheres a little more. That's more of a yogic practice that's probably doesn't fall into the modern science as we know it, more like the ancient science, if you will, of some ancient cultures. Interesting to look at because you can actually achieve levels of relaxation through, for instance, breathing more through your left nostril. So just block your right and just breathe through your left. Since your left connects with the right hemisphere, which is more the moon, feminine energy, relaxation, dreams, creativity, the divine, connection, empathy, etc. The right hemisphere, which controls the left hemisphere, it's more numbers, being pragmatic. I only believe in what I can see, negotiation, more a bit square thinking, which is okay when you combine them the two because you're not too dreamy, neither too like rigid in life. You're more level-headed. So this is just food for thought in case you guys like to. But yeah, if at night you're not able to conceal sleep, to get sleep, you just go belly, left nostril, belly for 4 minutes and try it and see how it works. But it's most likely going to work. Guys, thank you. I know it's been a lot of talk, but it's kind of hard to comprise all that information we got. I mean, there's more exercises, there's more theory, there's more facts, there's more debate. But I hope with what you guys experienced today, there is enough, content for you guys to just go on your own journey of more research, more practice, and just kind of, put more mind into. Let's wrap it up with this philosophical fact of that air is the number one thing we all need if we were to start from scratch again. Because we can live without food for 3 weeks, maybe. Can live without water for 3 days, maybe. Can't live without air for more than maybe 3 minutes. So that's how it is. You can't live without people for 3 years. You can live without sun for maybe 3 months or more. But you can't live without air for that long. So that's how important it is. So that's like, we like to have these long conversations. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your stay and your engagement. And we'll wish you a great stay and a good surf session today. And all of the good things that we experience here.